Hey, how's it going? So, today I want to talk about just something I've been thinking about for a while because I am a Star Trek fan. And I just don't really think the whole thing about Vulcans having mastery over their emotions is a true thing. Like, I think it's a bunch of hooey. Because, okay, so I found this channel on YouTube. Let me make sure I have the right name of it. And while I'm looking for that, let me just say that this is opinion commentary. It's just me talking, not a big deal, like nothing to get excited about. Just shut me off if you don't like what I'm saying, because it's mainly just silliness. But anyway, I get stressed out, and even I wonder, what the hell are you stressed out about? You have like nothing going on to make me stressful. Like, it's a real mystery to me sometimes. I'm qualifying that because one time recently I was having that wonder about what the hell am I stressed out about. And occasionally I'll do something that will generate that stress, like it'll just come straight from me. And so I got this picture in my mind of like Andy Dufresne from Tim Robbins' character in Shawshank Redemption. And he's walking in the yard, and he is taking the debris from his excavation and just redistributing it back to the earth. Except in this picture, like, Dufresne was representing me, and the sand pebbles were going into my shoe. And basically, I believe what I was supposed to be getting was, you put the pebbles in your own shoe, which is true. Like, I definitely, making my own problems sometimes. I'm sure we all do. Okay, I found the name of the channel. It's called Star Trek T'Pol. T''Pol. And T'Pol is a character on Star Trek Enterprise, and it is one of my favorite Star Trek shows. I like them all, but I have two that stand out above of the old original series, like not the new streaming Paramount Star Treks, like the old stuff that was on just plain old boomer television. But Enterprise, right? So a lot of people, I guess, have problems with those shows because they're like dark. And it's so funny because really the subject matter is not that dark compared to other, across the board, like whichever Star Trek universe you want to talk about. The lighting, though, makes a difference, and the makeup and the costumes, like, they can portray dark. And people don't like dark in their Star Trek, but it's like, what Star Trek have you been watching? they still have like all of the earthly problems. McCoy's still kind of racist, and other ones display a little bit of that, like Klingons. Hello, they hate everybody. Vulcans, I mean, they're kind of snobby and standoffish, and in Enterprise, Captain Archer is not thrilled with them in general because he feels like they're looking down their noses to get all up in Earth's business. So, but that's humans. Humans are expected to be all emotional. Klingons, forget about it. They're a mess. Romulans are just angry. The, what are the ones with the antennas? The Andorians. They are like, what is the word? Emotional manipulators. They're just like all over the place, and they're constantly playing a game with your mind. Okay, I'm getting all caught up in all this other stuff. But I wanted to talk about the Vulcans because, okay, the original series, TOS, Star Trek, if you can see any of the very first episodes, you will see a very different Vulcan Spock than he goes on to be for like the rest of the career of Spock. And he's basically like, he's just angry. He's like yelling at everybody. Everything he says is at the top of his voice, and he's frowning, and his posture is like this, and he's like, leaning into people's faces and hollering. And I saw this. I don't know if it was like lost episodes or what, because I've been watching it since like, I don't know, 75, 76, the original series in syndication. And it was just in the past like 5 years or so that I saw this version of like Angry Spock. And it wasn't one of the times where there was like some flower spewing Lovejoy juice in his face and, giving his personality a complete 180. I mean, there's just been a whole bunch of times where you get the idea that he mad. That's what I have thought. And there's other times where, particularly Spock, and this I saw in the Star Trek movies that came out with Zachary Quinto as Spock, and he was having a verbal exchange with someone, and I don't remember the context exactly, and it wasn't even a momentous part of the scene. It was just some dialogue, and a junior officer that he was speaking to, Spock was having a discussion, I guess there was 3 people. So, like, Captain Kirk and then maybe the Doctor as well. And they're talking, maybe it was the Doctor, because this is the dynamic, whatever the series that Spock and McCoy seem to have, a little bit abrasive. But there was just like an exchange of sentences, and somebody said something to Spock, and the two turned to walk away, and Spock did one of these, but the look on his face was like, "What, bitch? What did you just say to me?" And it's just like, that made me realize, oh my God, there's a whole bunch of other times where Vulcans are just being bitchy. And they're like, I don't have emotions, you're having emotions. I am a whatever, featureless plate of metal with no feelings. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but what about the hybrids? Okay, with the humans. The humans with their sloppy emotions getting all over the place and making rash decisions. Okay, but then a couple of them marry some humans, and don't tell me that there's no emotion involved there. Just try to unemotion a human, even if they're making the most serious, attempt not to be, a mess. Good luck trying that out. So, there's that. I think that involves some emotion, like the expressing of the feelings. And if you're doing it with a human, like I said, good luck getting the human to turn that off. And then, speaking of Vulcan unions, I don't know. I don't remember the episode. I'm sure I saw it a long time ago, but Sarek, Spock's father, has an illegitimate child. Is it the only one? Who knows? But I remember learning about Cyborg and thinking, Sarek, you dog, messing with the with the humans, getting all into the emotional stuff, and now you're having illegitimate kids. So the illegitimate kid, who I think he's supposed to be younger than Spock, but the guy looked older than Spock. But anyway, Cyborg was the illegitimate child of Sarek, and the reason why he's notable, because I guess they're busting out with like Burnham and with Spock having like other siblings. So, I mean, I'm not going to leave that alone because I'm not sure what's going on with all of that. There could be more to the story. But the guy that plays Cyborg in the original series that I saw, he looked, or was it the Next Generation. I don't know which one it was. Oh, it wasn't. Spock wasn't in the Next Generation. Well, then it would have had to have been TOS, I guess. Anyway, Cyborg looked older. That's all I really, I guess, wanted to say. But, excuse me. Cyborg decided to defy, like, being a Vulcan and the whole, like, logic thing, which is their basis for, well, it's not their basis for not having emotion, but it is, like, what they put in place of being emotional. They put it in place of being emotional. So there's, like, always a thought equation to every situation, and, you know, their whole sort of cultural model is logic. And Cyborg decides to depart from the rest of everyone else and go searching for religion, or in the form of, or I don't know about religion. I think it would have been called that in the show. I would say he's on a spiritual quest more than like an organized religion in the way that we think of it. Like, there may be some religion attached to what Cyborg ends up going after in the show. I'm sure there is, because we would have made that. Like, the makers, we humans that made the show would have put that in there, because that's like a cultural norm of ours. So, but anyway, Cyborg decides that he's not, like, just only an emotional or a logical being. He is, like, many other things. He's got, like, facets. He's got sides. He's got dimensions. And his passion, which is an emotion, like a big fat one, is to go to the central sun in search of God. Which I've mentioned this before in other videos, but it's funny that he goes there looking for God, because in the spirituality sort of universe that I'm into on this side of the screen, that's where, like, God is at the center of the universe, where the central sun is. So I always thought that was just interesting. It's funny how much of the sort of esoterica that I've learned has ended up in shows, and it always makes me wonder, do they know that they're saying that and that it's a thing? And I think a lot of the writers are no longer around to ask. Pardon me. So, anyway, they get emotional, is my point. And so, getting back to what I was saying about being stressed out, and it has to do with Star Trek Enterprise and T'Pol. And that is when I'm dropping the pebbles into my own shoes, and this has been happening a lot lately, and I'm realizing that it's not so much to do with me, but with, like, what's going on in the world, and all of the emotions that everyone is feeling sort of radiating and blending with everybody's, and it's just a hot mess soup of a world right now. And there's islands of sanity and there's islands of calm. And another funky vision I had lately, thinking about trying to just maintain a balance of calm and sanity for my own self, while, you know, there's, like, bad screaming and yelling noise going on over here on one side of my head, and then on the other it's like calm and happiness, but it's like a fantasy world, and you can't fall off too far into that, because stuff that's happening over here, the reality is going to drift in and not only harsh your buzz, but you're kind of like, they're going to interfere with you to wake you up, because you're over here, like, ignoring life, and that doesn't work either. So I was trying to talk about it before, and the word that I wanted to use was escaping me, but it was straddling. I feel like I'm straddling this two furies of whatever, power, I don't know, vibration, I don't know, it's over here is big and loud and sounds like feedback and white noise and static sound, and it's bad. It's like painful. And, you know, like I said, over here is like butterflies and rainbows. So I have felt like I'm especially straddling because I want to go more this way because this is making me feel and want to behave in ways that I would rather not. And so I'm straddling, but the image I got of myself straddling was like using a couple of dolphins as water skis because it's choppy. Like two weather systems, like screwing up the poor place in the middle that's just trying to straddle and balance. So when I feel like that and nothing else works, out of all of my coping mechanisms, what I have found is if I turn on a Star Trek, kind of any one, my blood pressure immediately lessens. It's the funniest thing. And my favorite, like I was saying, is Enterprise. So I had stumbled upon this channel, Star Trek to Paul, on YouTube, and it's just clips of T'Pol talking with Trip and Archer, or talking with whoever, whatever other members of the crew, but it's usually Trip or Archer. And a focus of the channel is, one of the titles is, and they're like 3 or 4 minutes long, and one of the titles is something like, T'Pol denying the existence of space travel for 3 years. Because eventually she has to cop to it. Spoiler alert! In Enterprise, they do the time travel that they're not supposed to, but they have a really good reason, like better reason than Kirk did, and it actually so good. It refers back to that, and they show that clip. And the other thing that's funny about that, because it just started appearing, and like I said, I've been up and down, and it's been kind of hard to sort of maintain cohesion and just like a sense that's not, like I just want to be, I don't have to be like overjoyed happy all the time, but I don't want to be all, you know, like grumbly and thinking about angry stuff or stuff that makes me angry, or, you know, paying too much attention to what's going on in the world right now and having that make me sick and angry. So, you know, I gotta kind of like keep a distance from stuff like that because it just doesn't make me feel good, and I don't like that, so I'm not gonna do it. And the Star Trek magically calms me down. So, but I noticed that in a lot of these T'Pol stories and a lot of Spock stories, especially Nimoy Spock, you just see, what I see is irritation, like, you know, I want to get mad, but I'm holding it back, and it's kind of hard. Like, that's what I get from Spock a lot of times. So I don't know what was going on with whoever was writing the various scripts, but I really feel like what we see in those shows is what is in those people getting filtered through the character. And sometimes it's funny and it's hilarious, and sometimes I'm a little disturbed, like, what was going on with this person? And T'Pol is like one of my favorite characters, one of my favorite women characters in, I guess, sci-fi, because she's obviously really intelligent. She's pretty, you can't miss it. But she also, when she's having her emotions, I swear to God, it's so good. She gets this look on her face like, damn it, I'm having an emotion and I'm not supposed to. And my mind hears, naughty girl. She's naughty, having those emotions. So she gets this look on her face, and it's so cute and it's so funny. It just cracks me up. It's like, you're not fooling anybody over there having emotions. Oh, and by the way, I hope I'm not spoiling it too hard for people, but at one point she gets strung out. I don't know how you go through being strung out, okay, because it's a process. Because first you're not strung out, and then you try the thing, and then you start to like it, and then before you know it, like really fast, you become addicted and, strung out. And by strung out, I mean you, like, all your morals are gone. You do whatever you can, whatever you need to, so that you can get high again, although you never feel as good as you did the first time. And the chasing of that is never going to happen again. So you just want something close, and even that becomes unattainable for a while. And that process right there starts screwing with your brain before the actual drugs have had a chance to really screw with your brain. So my point is, none of that. You don't go through all of that because it's a bunch of, for me, and I think for everyone else, as you're like getting addicted and becoming less and less concerned about other people's feelings and needs, you get a tolerance to noticing other people's feelings and needs or getting hurt because of your actions. So, but that's a process too, like burying the stuff. Yeah, it's gone and you're not thinking about it, but you haven't fixed anything that made those emotions you're trying not to feel and get rid of. You're just making new ones of a different shape and feel. They're still not good. They're not productive. So what I'm saying is there's a whole series of emotions that go on through all of the processes that happen while you go through the stages of addiction. So it's emotional, is what I'm saying. And then you see, maybe not to the detail that I'm saying, but in the show, you see her being affected by being strung out, because she's wondering how, like, can everybody tell? Can they see it? They're looking at me. You have those concerns too. Like, it's a whole thing. So that right there made me say, really? No, okay, they say it's not that they don't have emotions, it's that they don't allow themselves to feel them and sort of get all caught up in that and sucked into, well, we know, I mean, I guess I'll just characterize it and keep it all to myself. I don't want to try to speak for anybody else, but I get sucked up into emotional stuff, and it just takes me places that I don't necessarily want to go or to be. And it's not always easily controlled. Like, I lose the reins all the time, and the carriage is going nuts all over the place. So, yeah, a crazy sprayer, I used to call it. But I have done that recently too. I was going to say, that's when my emotions get loose and start spraying all over what I'm saying on social media, but comes with the package, what can I tell you? So, yeah, I guess one of my point here is that I don't think the Vulcans have control over their emotions as much as they would like other people to believe, and I think everybody else in all of those shows is just too polite to say so. There may have been a couple of occasions where McCoy might have just come out with it because that's what that character does. He just spits it out with little regard, although he doesn't really say anything hurtful too often. It depends on the person, really. So, yeah, got them Vulcans. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you and good night.